So the recording is on. Hey, Toxsam, thank you for coming over, man. Today I want to talk to you because you are someone who has been in the space for so long, and you are really specializing on everything related to building in the metaverse and also everything related to avatars. So I think you're the perfect person to answer a couple of questions in that space and maybe just share your overall kind of insight on what's happening in this space right now, man. Welcome to this little show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Swiss.
So Toxam, I've been checking out the Crypto Avatars website. This is one of your projects, and you guys have several buildings and multiple places around the metaverse. I would call them maybe like embassies or something like this. Can you tell me a little bit where you are currently present with the Crypto Avatars quote unquote embassy and why you picked those locations?
Um, the list is pretty broad. I think we are in the Central Land. We have place in CryptoVoxels. We have place in Monaverse, in HyperFi. Um, I think we also have place for Spatial, and I'm not sure if we have more places. Probably yes, but mostly Hubs was someone that we were making. I'm not sure if we released that already. But yeah, I mean, we wanted to be exploring like can we get things like we all want to have like a building in Central or a building in or a world in beer chat, but we we always talk about it, but we never tried before to get that building, a specific that building to different places and see how that could happen.
Okay. So it's on one hand to see what the technical requirements are, what the specialties are of the platform, and on the other
Yeah,
hand, you also want to show that you have the capability of deploying uh, real estate, if you will, in all of these environments.
yeah, exactly. Because when we work in the central line, we usually use Unity, and we've been working on a tool for many years that allow us to export stuff from the Unity to the central line, and that's how we've been building, right? So what we've been working on is can we use the same tool or similar tools to also deploy in whatever, and we've been testing it, and that it works.
Okay. Okay, so tell me, if customers come around to you, or in your case, these are probably, you call them clients, uh, and if they want to have some kind of participation in the metaverse, how do you decide what platform to suggest? Is there some criteria already, or are they usually coming towards you with some kind of preconceived understanding of what they want? How does this usually work?
Um, it happens. I mean, there's no like a right answer to it. Some people come with an idea of already. They think they have an idea of what they want, and then there is people who just want to be guided to the fullest because they don't understand anything. So what we do, or what been doing last year, is just listening to them, seeing what are they looking for, and then suggesting a platform and giving reasons why this platform could fit for the project and that's it. I mean, it depends on the project, and we just see what is the potential. Obviously, there are clients that say, "Hey, I want to build something in Decentraland. Okay, let's do it. We know how to do that. We want to build something in Sandbox. Okay, let's do it." But most of the cases is like, "I want to do something," and then you have to guide them and propose ideas and see what will stick with the brand.
I see. What do you think are the main differences, the main differences between the, let's say, top five, six platforms right now? Because they're not the same, right? I mean, Decentraland is really a special case with that huge map where you have this common space where you can randomly bump into people, and then you have something like Hyperfy, the platform we are on. It's pretty much like a private space that you have at your full disposal. Do you see some major kind of directions that are starting to emerge in the metaverse space, or is it just still wild west and people are
I
uh,
think I think we are still in the early stage where people is exploring. I mean, I already lay out these two different kind of type of world back in the day. One of them I call them like the browser metaverse. That will be like Hyperfy, Webaverse, Monaverse. That will be also VR chat. You are in a browser and then you pick something and then you go there, right?
Okay.
And you are in there. That's the layer of the reality that you are going to be experiencing, and that layer of reality is built by one person or one entity, right? But it is an effort of a limited group of people that is chosen by the creators. But in the central end is not a browser. It could be joined in one of those browser experience, but once you join there, it's a seamless experience with various creators are creating the whole thing, right? So in a future sense, a browser metaverse could have a smaller decentralized into it because decentralized is a layer by itself, right? And the others are searchers of layers of reality. And uh, I'm not saying that one thing is best than another. I think there's value on both of things, right? There's still, there is value on creating your own world, and there is value on collaborating with other people to create a world together that can coexist.
Okay, man. Let me see if I understand this. Like, I must say this was a kind of a complicated explanation. I didn't pick
Okay,
up.
okay.
Is
Yeah, yeah. Feel free to ask me questions. Yeah.
because like when I joined Decentraland back in the days, I think the really cool thing was that you could go to Genesis Plaza, you can bump into other people. It kind of reminded you of some of the games many of us used to play, where you would start off at the central bank or something like this, and then kind of venture off in different parts of the map to experience something together. And it was so cool to have like a possibility to buy a plot of land on a map like that everybody had access to.
Mhm.
And then, like you also say, there is these isolated kind of experiences, and and they seem to have a completely different use case. They seem to have a completely different motivation to exist. Like if you would divide these two extremes into two camps, like how does your view kind of fit in there? Could you kind of put this into this context? Would that be possible?
Okay, let me think. So the thing is that the central land is a layer, right? It's a reality layer, or let's say it's a scene, a 3D scene that is created by many people at the same time, and we are together building that, right? There is value on that because there is the sense of people building stuff around you. Because you build something, and maybe your neighbor builds something next day, and you go there and you see, and it is always sharing all the information all the time between each other, and it's always active. The other kind of metaverses, usually what happens, I'm not saying that they are isolated in a sense that many people can get in and they don't feel alive. That's not what I meant. What I want to mean is that each layer, like for example, the website we are now, right? In Hyperfight iOS Live Swissverse, that's something that you created, and it's your whole Decentraland in that sense, right? You don't have neighbors where you can just walk through them. You have to go through a portal. So that's an isolation. So I see value in both of them. I'm not the there are experiences that are very limited in Decentraland that you feel that something greater could be done, right? But then you also have experiences in places like this where you say, oh, it would be great if this will be, how to say it, other people could help me build this, or other people could, there's balance on one and the other. I see value in both of them because one I think is more like Minecraft, where if we compare it to video games, having a Minecraft server with your friends will be Decentraland, right? And then having and joining just your own instance and then inviting people will be, you know, sorry, that was not a good explanation. So the good one will be having a server with your friends will be a Decentraland where you can build stuff and your friends can build stuff, right? And Decentraland what does is like you in this space area is what you want can build if you have the NFT. And then the other kind of worlds will be like in VR chat. Anybody can create a world, you upload it, and it's something that everybody can visit, but just one person is building the environment surrounding it.
So right now, what does fit into this VR chat category? Like, what kind of roles? Is it hyperfi,
Yeah,
spatial?
yeah.
What?
Anything that is browser, like anything that you need to like click, like for example, if you want to come to Hyperfy, either you type it on the URL, or either you browse it on the Hyperfy website. You look for Swissverse and you get into it, and then a whole thing, a new layers loads, something loads, and then you go there. That's
Okay.
what VRChat is doing. That's what Hyperfy is doing. That's what Spatial is doing. Monaverse is doing. Yep.
And how is Decentraland different in that sense? Because you also have it in the browser, you also access it this way. Like, why would you make a difference there, like it being in the browser or not? I don't fully, I
It's
don't.
not like it's not just done. How to explain it? It's not more like a browser. It's more like a catalog of things that you can pick. Right. The thing is, imagine you could look for in this catalog of Hyperfy and then select Decentraland, and you go to Decentraland, but only the owners of Decentraland can build in it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not like a huge difference between them. I just like to differentiate it because one of them is like a shared layer where we all build together, like contributors, and we don't have to ask permission to each other. And the other one is I have a world, I've managed who can build on top of it. I can invite you, I can invite whoever I want, and we build something that other people can experience. Could be the same thing as the central, and if you want to think it that way. But usually, what happens is that worlds like this one that you're building yourself are less have less content that probably the central in its own layer could have.
Okay, I'm starting to see how you see it, because the thing is, in this whole metaverse space, whenever you jump into some kind of Twitter space or you talk to people, everyone has a view of how things are developing, and usually they are not sharing this view very frequently, so it kind of exists in their own head for a very long time, and it grows and it flourishes, and you add ideas over time, and then everyone has a completely different imagination and way of explaining what the metaverse is. I think you can see it all over the place. You ask somebody what is the metaverse, they'll tell you a completely different story, right? Like, and I'm very interested in hearing how you see it and how you have kind of divided it up in your head, and how you have, like, how you explain it to people at this point in time, because it kind of adds a little bit to I'm trying to create a website around metaverses, and I want to discuss this topic frequently, and I would like to add something to my way of seeing things right now, right? And one things I noticed in this space is that, like, I mean, I've been waiting for this for a long time, and I was wondering, like, this whole Decentraland worlds thing happening right now. What do you think about it, man? Like, we have a world that has, like, land that has been sold to people, and they have ownership, and this was kind of the special thing about it. And now we have Decentraland worlds, and I think somebody was tweeting about ENS worlds. So basically, now people have access to something that kind of is close to a Hyperfy and spatial. So it seems like Decentraland is adding to their portfolio of services, if you will, that
Yeah.
additional component, which I think is amazing, because I think there is a use case for this. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on this right now. Like, where are you at with this?
Um, like I mentioned, like Decentraland went from just being a shared layer, and now they're adding more worlds that you can browse, right? That you can just go there. So they are having the two things at the same time. So they are evolving in the two things at the same time. That's what I want to mean, right? So that's this is a hot topic. I know that many landowners have been like very angry at this. I know that many people is not happy on this. I know there is many people who is happy on this, and I know for sure that the Central has been looking for a solution to get more content creators in without having the huge barrier of having to buy a whole land.
Mm.
And that has been the driver for this, right? Like, if we want this Central to be accessible for people, you cannot have a barrier of $5,000
Yeah.
just to enter. I'm not saying that the land that you bought or that I bought doesn't is not valued that way. Probably it is because it's in a layer with a lot of content and has a position in it. But if I wanted to just build something, build a house, and see if it works in Decentraland, probably I shouldn't be doing the best of doing, buying a land directly or renting a land, or so finding ways to lower down that entry barrier are good. I'm not saying if this is a good solution or not, or if this is the ultimate solution. I'm pleased that this is happening in a way, because when you are making experiences, there are some things that you cannot make. You are constrained by the space you have, right? So if I can buy land and then connect it to a world, that will be interesting, because I could have a land that has like a position in my map, in a map that everybody knows, that everybody can visit, and then I have my own singular experience that I just set up for you, because maybe I want an experience that is multiplayer, but maybe I just want an experience that is like a movie just for you, and you are not going to be seeing anybody else, right? It's going to be more. I will have more capabilities to choose what I want to build rather than just following the central limitation. So the real bad thing here is the question of, does this lead to land devaluation and how this will play out in the future? That's what we are all worried about, and I think that's what is driving the whole most of the conversation.
Man, that's an interesting question, and I know this is a bit of a hot topic, and not everyone loves to talk about hot topics. But I think if we talk about metaverses, we cannot just skip on it, on a development that is so important right now. I personally think any kind of big company that comes into the metaverse or wants to build some kind of experience for their customers, they will always want to have an isolated world where they can have full ownership of their brand inside that environment, where they don't have to depend on, like your neighbor, in the spirit of decentralization, builds a huge kind of phallus symbol next to you, and you've just paid $100,000 for your land, right? Like, um,
I'm not complete. I don't completely agree with that. Like, what about the user, right? One thing is the the company wants to do, and another thing is what the user is going to be doing. If I had to tell you, hey, join this Coca-Cola world with me, what will be your first reaction? Probably like, oh shit, there's a lot of going to be a marketing thing that I'm going to be going there, and at the end of the day, I'm going to be feeling that I have to buy a fucking Coca-Cola, right? Or I feel forced to join because it feels like it's huge marketing or huge spam for me. Probably if I had to join like Coca-Cola World, or I'm not saying that it doesn't have to happen, right? I'm just saying that many people can force it away, and on the other hand, platforms that are meant for creators, the brands, those brands becomes one of those creators, and they can get those people who are going to those places. It's pretty similar to what Facebook is doing with Instagram, Facebook, or whatever, right? They have got the users, and then they place the information of the brands where the users are, right? So you go where the users are. You don't create a place and then drag users into it, because there's not so many people who go there. Obviously you can do that for an event, or but I find it very difficult to see a brand having like a 24/7 running world thriving world about Coca-Cola. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. I'm proof wrong in the future.
Look, man, I find this interesting that you see it this way, because it kind of always sobers me up that my way of seeing things is maybe only one component of how things are. Because my impression was always like, what I like about Hyperfy is I could place a link onto my business card, and people could, instead of going to Twitter or to my website, they could just quickly go to my metaverse, and they would have a
Mhm.
similar experience in there, right? They can walk in, they can read my, I don't know, mission statement, whatever. It's just another medium to transport the same message. And if some people prefer the metaverse, why not? Maybe they can pick up an NFT, maybe they can use their avatar, maybe I can welcome them in a personalized manner. I think there is so many possibilities where I don't need to have like the whole map, uh,
Mhm.
right, being present. But at the same time, like if you're talking about acquiring new users for, let's say, smaller companies or smaller startups that want to be positioned inside like the relevant audience inside that huge pool of people walking around in a potentially busy world, then of course that would be super counterproductive to isolate yourself. I agree with you. So I think there is these both things, which kind of these two trends where you where a decentraland could play a role of this huge mass of people kind of jumping off into single experiences, into single games from a big map, and then you have these isolated worlds that function more like a website, like a link tree, like a 3D
Mhm.
link tree, right? um,
Yeah, I mean, if you think it really, the metaverse is an extension of the website of the web, right, of the internet. So anything that we can do in the internet is going to be happening also in 3D spaces, and you got the pages for everything, right? You can just buy a page for your bar, right, or for your, I don't know, a small shop in a small city town, right? You can buy a website for 50 euros, and then you can build it, and that's it. All the traffic is going to be people who is going to be going to your shop, right? Probably locals, but that is good for you because that's your business and that's your size and that's good. But probably if you go for like big, big company that sells food everywhere, like Costco or something, those guys are not going to be just needing like a small website. They are going to be needing like a whole experience. So it's resembles the same thing that we're seeing in the web.
Toxsam, I somehow I lost you. You seem to have fallen asleep under the table, man.
Sorry. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but I cannot see you. You kind of your avatar is under the table, at least on my. Oh, you're back. You're back now, man. Yeah. So okay, man. All right, I see. So now let's quickly wrap this up because I want to talk about avatar and avatar systems in the second segment, but I still want to hear from you. Polygonal Mind, man. This brand has been with me for the past 3 years. How are things going? What are you guys working on, and how have things changed since, let's say, 2021, now going into 2023 and into the new bull market? Like, how are things, man? How do you feel, and what do you think will happen? Like,
Mhm. I mean, if we have to do it since 2021, we've been expanding a lot. We've been experiencing huge growth. We are almost 73 people now in the studio, and it's a lot of people. Yeah, it's starting to get scary, but at the same time, it's always challenging. The thing is, we've been building a lot, and one of the things that we notice is that we've been building for a lot of companies and a lot of brands, and that's great. That's something that we've been focusing on that, and that's what's been powering our growth. And we've been very technical on it. We've been optimizing all the stuff, but now we are looking for this year. We are looking to start doing things as a Polygonal Mind brand. Uh, Aside of working with the clients that we are going to be doing today, for example, we are launching Doritos space in the central, which is great. There, I think it's actually now going on. I think it started at the same time we are recording this, but we want to do like a small things for our brand, starting to grow our own brand as a present, our own community. Um, we have one big project of the year, which is MegaCube. We want to be improving that. We want to be also having a smaller or bigger projects that are more tied to Polygon Mind as a company and as a studio entity than just working for clients. And Polygon Mind made this for X or for Y or Z.
this is a beautiful segue for me here. I was wondering, there are many other people in this space who are talented and who would like to launch a career in the metaverse, who would like to benefit from these new technologies and trends. Like, from your point of view, now that you have been in the space for so long, with so many people on board now, with a reputation, what opportunities are there for people who are starting out right now, or for people who would like to develop some skills? Like, what do you see?
Mhm.
I know it might not be the best thing in the world to kind of foster competition in this space, but I think
I
that
mean, it's not like fostering competition. I think everything, the more people joins and builds, more. that's because there's more demand. So, and we are not in a space that is like crowded right now. And uh, I think this it's been always available for everything, everybody. You need to learn a little bit, or either you go into the thing is you need to pick up a lot of skill sets, right? If you want to start your own thing, you will need to learn to code, and then you will need to learn some 3D basics. It's not like com- super hard, but can get some time to get used to it,
Mm.
you know. And then if you want to specify, then you have people who are fully artists or fully coders, and that is like a skill set that you have to master over time. But in any case, just learning how to do some 3D objects, placing in a scene, that's a good way to start. And eventually, if you do good enough, eventually people will pay for it, probably.
But you said that you guys are pivoting into creating own brands and own assets, slightly, at least
Hmm.
one step away from client work only, if I understood that right. So you
No,
see,
no, no. We are not stepping away from client. It's just we are going to be fostering in internal initiatives as much as we are doing with clients.
so it's an additional kind of component, not a new
Yeah.
component. Okay. But you see opportunities in developing assets and building brands and ecosystems. So it's not only client work that you're advocating, you're also saying, hey, if you have the skills, you can actually, it's a good time to maybe build a brand, build, let's say, an NFT collection, build a 3D NFT collection, I don't know, build furniture, build all
Hmm.
sorts of assets for these platforms. Like there is room for people to come in. Do you think like is
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it's a good timing for this. Especially, I mean, everybody depends, right? If you're starting out, probably you will need to pick up a platform, or you will be needing to start learning somewhere. But the way I see it for us is like we build so many stuff in so many platforms. We have so many knowledge about how to integrate those things together into different places, and we can try to foster that and see if we can maybe help other people do that. One of the things we want to do is tutorials, to where we explain people how to build things in the central land, like 5-minute tutorials of how to build something, and then just deploy it, right? I'm not saying I'm going to be teaching you how to do it beautifully, but just deploying it just as fucking hell, right?
mm,
So those kind of things, like trying to I'm not saying that. I mean, it is a good time for us. For other people, I think it's a good time. I think right now the web space
I
is,
see.
I mean, the Web3 space is a great place to create brands, or at least to try to do it, right? So, independent brands, if you want to do independent, obviously.
I mean, there'll be so much room here to kind of dig in deeper, but I do want to quickly jump over to the segment two, speaking about avatar